Before we get started, there's a little bit of an explanation. I was hoping to have nearly finished the 10,000 mile review of my 450 Himalayan, but gravity had a vote on the matter. Not this one, where a bell end in a taxi twatted me up the arse while I was sat at a roundabout, but this one, where a bell end thought he could green lane. So, without further ado, let's get on with the 10,000 kilometre rather than 10,000 mile review of the Himalayan. Of course, once 10,000 miles have got clocked up and my broken shoulder is better, the full version will be released. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is while you're watching this, and welcome to the 10,000 mile review of my Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. I've previously done a review of the 411 and I still have that bike as well, so I'm double himsied. I'll be leaving what the bike's like to ride until the end, but just let me say, in the low position, the seat is an absolute pain in the arse, and if you're riding in eco mode, more of which later, you end up with a sore wrist. So we'll fire up the bike, and while it's warming up, have a look over some of the features. Starting with the general appearance of the bike, it's very obviously a Himalayan, but it's also different from the 411. Having a look from the seat towards the tank, you'll see it's appreciably wider than the 411, as are the tank protectors. The bike's a mix of old and new. The switch gear, or switch cubes as they're known, are actually metal, and you can see on here it's got a fairly standard set of controls, although a rotary switch for the headlights. On the right hand side, the hazards are on the front, another rotary switch for the kill switch, and the mode button. Starting the bike, you can admire the TFT screen, but weirdly the red line appears and disappears, so basically don't rev above 8. There's lots of options on the screen and you can even put it in 2 different modes. This is all of course covered in the manual and there's lots and lots of things to play with. One thing that is a little on the annoying side, the indicator lights, although in this they do look quite bright. They're right at the bottom of the screen and they are fairly dim, so it's quite easy to accidentally leave your indicators on in bright sunlight even if you think you've cancelled them. Newer items are the brake switches. They're actually hydraulic pressure switches front and rear rather than traditional electrical switches. So I mentioned the seat's a pain. That's because the upper pad sticks right into my coccyx when I'm riding with the seat set on the lower of the 2 height positions. It's quite easy to sort out though. Flip the rider's seat over and you'll see you've got these 2 little bars, front and rear. So what you do to change from the high to the low position, you just move the 2 bars into the other slot. And there you go, put it all back together in this bracket and you've changed the seat height. One thing you might have noticed, the rear bars getting a bit bruised. And at the time, Hitchcock's didn't show one of these in stock. So if it does wear over time, you might need to get another one. Under the seat, we've got the battery, the fuse box, the connector for diagnostics and the toolkit. The toolkit's in this nice little roll and there's even a front spindle nut which actually stays under the seat and does lock in position quite nicely. You don't often get a tool roll these days and the material certainly seems sturdy. The display also comes with a built-in sat-nav. You have to put it into what they call digital for this to work, as you can see here, and the idea is the map appears in the top half of the screen. The 17 litre fuel tank has a 1.15 litre dead space, but it has this bar, and this will actually let you give it at least 3/4 flow on the pump and cut out before you've overfilled the tank. Well, that's covered some of the basic bits of the bike, so what's it like to ride? The 450 engine is great. It's not going to set any speed records, but like the 411, it's not meant to. I find it to be smooth up to about 5,000 RPM when the mirrors get a bit blurry. Mine are of course the aftermarket ones, not the standards. And there's no vibration through the foot pegs unless you take the rubbers off so that you can get a bit better grip when you're off-roading. 200 miles to the 14 litre tank, bearing in mind there's a litre and a bit of dead space, is perfectly achievable at normal 60-70 mile an hour speed maximum, especially when you're tootling about on smaller roads. The tyres are only about half worn at 6,000 miles, the OE ones that is, so putting some aftermarket ones on will give you higher mileage if the 411's anything to go by. Although it's lighter, the push weight of the bike is slightly higher because the centre of gravity is slightly higher, and I was concerned about how this would affect things on and off road. On road, no problems, it will still flick from side to side with ease, and the myth of the 21-inch front wheel mucking up your handling isn't for the likes of mere mortals like me, I dare say if I was a world-class rider I might feel a slight difference, but I don't. I was also concerned off-road compared to the 411, the way the bike's designed now, the fuel tank sits on top of the airbox, sits on top of the engine, and I thought the centre of gravity would feel a lot higher, but it doesn't. If you've got a 411 and fancy trading in for something with a bit more oomph on motorways and things like that, then yeah, definitely have a look at the 450. However, keep your 411 as well if you've got space in the garage and you can afford to, because I love the 411. The 450 has a bit less character. It's still well built. I still enjoy riding it, and I still enjoy riding the 411. I've taken them both off-road, both on-road, but the 450 does have longer legs for longer trips. There are two things so far that I don't like about the 450. The first is the instruments. You'll notice that in this film they've been set into black mode. You do have a white mode, and there's a small light sensor that will change the brightness of the background. It's distracting. Your eye keeps seeing slight changes and looking at it rather than the road, so I've set mine permanently in black. And the other thing are the rear light stroke indicators. I do not like these. If I'm riding trails, I will have luggage on the back of the bike because I'm normally leading rides and take spares and other bits and pieces with me, so they're protected against an off. But I would be concerned if I did drop the bike, I would knock off an indicator stroke tail light. They're not straightforward to refit. You're going to have to start getting under the bike and taking it apart a little bit. And that's your indicator, tail light and brake light. I'd rather see the tail light and brake light separated from the indicators, but that's just personal choice and a mini rant. So at the time of recording, I've got another 3 weeks before I'm allowed back on a bike. Not that I can actually lift my arm high enough yet to ride one. When I can, I'll be leading a few more rides and off-roading days for Cooper this year, and then eventually getting a 10,000 mile review out rather than a 10,000 kilometre one. I don't want to go metric if I live in Britain, apart from when I'm doing engineering and sciencey stuff. Anyway, enjoy the BBC UK theme, which you can no longer hear on the radio. There's a link to it above, and hopefully see you on the road, on the trail, or in the next one, and not in A&E. Tatty bye for now.